got a lady who will speak on behalf of our next generation. She is 18 years old, speaks 5 languages, and has done so much charity work in Africa. It's incredible. Welcome, Mayra Eren.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mayra, and I'm here to talk to you about bags. No, not about all of the beautiful bags the ladies here have bought to match their outfits tonight, but the sight of a particular bag that changed my views of the human world. At 15 years old, I traveled to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to teach at a local elementary school there. They did not have access to fluent English-speaking teachers, and therefore my presence was most welcome by the students. I remember upon my first day, nervously making my way down to the school building. Groups of children, seeing a new face, all ran to me, asking a series of questions. But what took my attention was something else. A little girl sitting in the corner of the field. Her clothes were torn to pieces as she chewed away at the little bag she was holding, as a substitute for food. I had to hold in my tears as sometime later, when the group had dispersed, the same little girl came up to me. She offered me a piece of candy in her hand, probably the only piece of candy she would be seeing for the entirety of that year. I tried to tell her that I couldn't take it, but she looked at me, pushed it into my hand, and replied in her broken English, saying thank you for coming. That 3 years ago was the very first moment in my life where I had complete faith in the kind-heartedness of the human race. I later returned to Europe with many cherished memories and ended up leading a student group who would then travel to Ethiopia as I had the next year to teach there. What shocked me from all of this was how the way everyone I met in Ethiopia treated me completely differently from the way people treated me back home in my normal environment. In an environment where I thought I had been raised comfortably, no one had ever been so kind-hearted. Upon thinking about this, I drew a conclusion, which I'll get back to later. When I first walked up here and introduced what I would be speaking about, you all formed preconceived ideas in your head about who I was. No one waited to hear my story, to hear my voice. You formed an opinion. And why is that? Most probably because I'm wearing a very sparkly dress. As a community of people living together in the world, this is the greatest thing that we need to work to break. We need to work together and to support each other to understand that just because I'm wearing a very sparkly dress doesn't mean that I don't have a personality to support it. Just because I have long legs doesn't mean I'm not the smartest. And just because I'm wearing red nail polish doesn't mean that the toughest problem I've faced in life has been a broken nail. To break this image, let me give you a little bit of background about myself. When I was 2 years old, my parents split, and I was left to live alone with my mom. Now, I'd love to give you the story of what an amazing person she is and the hardships of being a single female parent of a little girl. But I'm sure you can already imagine, and I'd rather tell you about everything she helped me achieve and who I've grown to become. Today, I can speak, read, and write in English, Turkish, French, Spanish, and Italian. If I push myself a little, I could probably have a conversation or two in Portuguese and Azeri as well. I know how to ride horses, to swim, to play hockey. I played football, a so-called masculine sport, and did ballet as well. I took ceramics and sculpting classes and became invested in the arts. I have always been a writer and have read over 1,000 books to date. At age 8, I ran fundraiser and clothing drives for refugee children in Turkey. I volunteered at local public schools and volunteered with homeless shelters specializing in children. I led my high school's Female Empowerment Day, making it more about people helping people rather than men helping women, as it always seems to be nowadays. I traveled to Laos to teach English, to Myanmar to carry buckets of potable water for kilometers in order to help village people. I traveled to Vietnam to shuck corn in order to facilitate the lives of the farmers. Meanwhile, I also experienced some of the most luxury places in the world, seeing resorts from Bali to Australia. What I mean to say is that it does not make you a bad person to invest in yourself as well as to help others. It does not make you a bad person to wear designer clothing or to enjoy a nice, expensive meal. I'm standing here today telling you that when you cross someone on the street, you do not know their background. We have all grown with preconceived ideas of what must be and how, but that does not mean that we can't break these. For the sake of this speech, I'm going to use the female pronoun, but do not let this withhold you from using the same ideas to classify males as well. If someone is pretty, that does not mean that she is not smart. If she likes to read, it does not mean that she does not like makeup. If she likes to play basketball, it does not mean that she is boyish, as we like to call it. If she enjoys chemistry and biology, it does not mean that she should not or cannot be a fashion model. From a young age, the societies we live in teach us to form preconceived opinions on what makes us a human being. We are all forced to lose our voices at some point in our lives. Whether male or female, we are all told to not express ourselves, to not voice ourselves, to suppress the existence that we wish to be living. In that position of suppression, you may not have the power to do anything about it, whether that power be mental, physical, social, emotional, or anything else. However, there is one thing that we may control: the way we judge the people around us. What I have said here today may leave you thinking, or it may simply leave you. What I ask of you is to remember me, Mayra, the girl who spoke in a sparkling dress and loved literature, went to Ethiopia to teach, wore her sparkly sky-high heels, and campaigned to bring voice to the voiceless. Remember me, and remember not to categorize a single human being by appearance or taste or gestures. Remember that you, the person sitting at the table across you, your neighbor, and even your own friends, have more to themselves than you make out at first glance. Remember that a single person does not have to fit into a single category. As my favorite writer once said, the breaking of a wave cannot explain the whole sea. And I personally believe that a single person has the power to influence the movement of oceans. Thank you. I feel great just to have been able to share my ideas and just the thought that I may have inspired a few people in there. I think it's just such an amazing opportunity for people to be recognized for all the amazing things they do in the world, because there's so many people everywhere, not only women, but especially women, who do so much for themselves and for the world around them, who just go without recognition. So I think this is just like overall an empowering experience and beneficial for everyone.